Hello there, this is Alexander Hall for Viva Voce week 6. So I'm going to be giving you my full analysis of what happened this week, and I'll just tell you everything from the first question to the final. So giving you strengths, giving you weaknesses, and giving you how I'm going to be applying all my strengths and weaknesses to the final productions of Christmas. So, anyway, the first question is, what did I do this week? So, firstly, for screen acting, Gary was asking us all to go out as a duo and kind of create like a scene, which involved two people who know each other very well, so either as friends or as flatmates or something like that. And what we had to do was just find a way in which we can clap them all together and just see if we can make a story that's relevant to that saying. So I was partnered up with Charlie Lemondine, and what happened was we created this scene where I was working I was working so much that I even was working during midnight hours, and Charlie had just got back from a social do with his work colleagues where he works outside of home, and I'm working self-employed, so I have to work a lot at home, which is not fun, but hey ho. So I'm self-employed, and he's working outside, and he's just socialising with all his friends, and he went out on a very late night, and he just got back at 4, and I was still working, and all of a sudden we all had this argument, and I was saying to him, why did you never invite me? I never get out of the house, you never think about me. So we went over that. And for Jazz, we started working on casting for the choreography of I Hope I Get It, because in a chorus line it's all about auditionees in an actual being part of a musical audition, and so we had to really start to use the best realistic ideas of the different auditionees you'll get. So people who might act really arrogant, act like they're really clever, like they're the most talented thing in the world. You'll get those who are really nervous, ones who are just staring at a woman because they've just had this shocking crush on them. And then you get all these different kinds of people who turn up to an audition. So we wanted to try and use our realistic ideas and just bang them in. So yeah. And then the next one is we added more to the choreography of The Greatest Showman for our tap session. So because we've got the first bit of it, so doing the intro until it gets into ladies and gents, this is the moment you're waiting for. We wanted to kind of start to use a bit more, so start before we get into the chorus of the song. So we added that in. So we knew what we needed to work on for half term, so we can come back and just get a little bit extra done before we go into the chorus. So that's something we did. And then we, as a full of year 2, we rehearsed for the first time all together Found Tonight in our singing lesson. So we've all kind of blended all together. We've tried to find who's going to be singing with who, knowing our different vocal groups all together, and then mashing out and creating a space where each person can go and sing for their own good, so they can kind of familiarise themselves with their own harmonies without having to rely on having someone right next to them. So we did that for the first time. Then this training drama school came in called Fourth Monkey on the Thursday, to give us an outline of their methods of how they teach their students, and what their aim is each year on how to push their students forward into the industry, and what kind of methods they make so that they can take their students out on the best experience possible, and how they use that they rely on your own creativity, and that they want to see what you can come up with without having to trust like directors and trust all other kinds of people out there. So it's quite important for that sense, and just to kind of be yourself and let your own creativity come out, instead of just getting really quite nervous and not feeling like you can find something, when actually all you have to do is just listen and use your instincts and just create what you can to the best of your ability and see what happens. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans and we all have a right to create what we can and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know. So it was good to get that experience. And then finally, we performed our contemporary monologues in our acting session with Leanne before we broke up for half term. And so yeah, we looked over our contemporary monologues, which we were given about 2 weeks ago. So we all had to make sure that we had learned our whole monologue. So I was glad enough to be off book for that, and just to be really familiar with the whole setting and be familiar with how to express the characters' portrayal, especially for the monologue, and just see what I can come up with and start really experimenting now before starting to really grow a bit more. So it's starting like a small plum, and you're starting to grow it a bit more just from starting the basics, and then but trying to develop the character a little bit more. So yeah. So what are my aims for this term, and how am I going to apply them for after half term? So my aim pretty much is to have a wide variety of solo material, which includes monologues and songs. And one of the things I want to do is try and get them and try and see if I can really perform with the best effectiveness possible. So, you know, make sure they're learned early. So don't go in and start thinking that you're gonna get yourself a place if you just leave your lines or leave your lyrics to the last minute. So I wanted to make sure that I learnt them just as soon as I got it, and as soon as I knew that that's what I wanted to do, just learn it and not make a fuss, just do it, because it will just make life so much easier, and it will just put less hassle on you once demand starts to grow and grow. So yeah, I want to get a wide variety, so, you know, show that I'm wanting to vary myself in terms of my musical tastes. So not just go, I just want to do Les Mis, I just want to do Phantom of the Opera. I want to do not just that, I want to do a way wider variety of things, because I've learned a lot from musicals, and I know more musicals than I think. So I thought, you know, give Carousel a go, give Thoroughly Modern Millie a go, and see what happens, and see if they work. If they don't work, then, you know, that's just the way it is. But yeah, I just want to vary myself, and also vary myself in terms of monologues, and try and pick monologues which people don't know of completely. So, you know, in terms of regards to Shakespeare, I didn't want to do something from Romeo and Juliet. I didn't want to do something from Hamlet. As much as they are very renowned and very popular plays, I wanted to try and see what I could do, try and test myself on Shakespeare plays that are which not everyone knows, like just from the back of their hand, and ones that aren't portrayed to a higher extent. Like, if you think about Romeo and Juliet, everyone knows Romeo and Juliet because there's like loads of different versions, contemporary versions of it, like Romeo and Juliet, and of course there's the DiCaprio version of Romeo and Juliet, which everyone's probably seen. And, you know, everyone knows that. And of course Hamlet, because everyone's going on saying, yeah, David Tennant, you know, because David Tennant was like Hamlet, probably one of the most well-known Hamlets of our generation. So everyone knows those plays, but I wanted to try and find something that, you know, is different, and one that not everyone goes, oh, I didn't know that was Shakespeare, King John, I've never heard of it. And so you just want to do something where people go, oh, never heard of that play before. And then you just do it, and you just want to see what the audience's reaction will be, and see if you can do it as much justice as you can. So King John, for me, I thought, give King John a go and see what I can do with it. So I want to make sure that I am off book for my Richard the Bastard monologue, which is in Act 6 of Scene 1, where he's having his argument with King John. So I want to make sure that I've learnt that, so all I have to do is just know the lines, and then as soon as I know the lines, then all I have to do is just pick out little details, so you know that I'm not as hassled by the basics. So yeah, that's one thing that I want to make sure that I've got. So just make sure that so I can concentrate more on my performances when I'm off book. So what are my 3 strengths? So my 3 strengths are, for me, would be making sure that I've balanced my area, especially in an enclosed space. So that with screen acting, I had to make sure that I had I had to really balance the space that I had with Charlie to set a scene. And the thing with a lot of the times, we all wish that we had bigger spaces to fulfill a room. And the problem is, you're not always going to get that. There'll be really small spaces and you've just got to fulfill it. And, you know, everyone goes on saying, I just want a bigger stage. You're not always going to get a big stage. Because if you think about if you go into a screen audition, you're gonna have to test yourself on how good you can be at blocking a scene in such a small space, which is so enclosed, and making sure you can do it the best effective job possible. And that's so important to get yourself into that habit of finding that. Because if you just go in and you start going, it's too small, they'll just go, well, we can't really do much about that. You're just going to have to work it out. So I felt like I could really work on balancing the space, even in a small space, that just getting that familiarity with that will help me a lot, especially if I want to go into like screen auditions for the future. So I've got that in. My other strength for me would be the coherency of Fountainite, because I think what I've done a lot of is strain a lot when starting to sing the song, and I've improved a lot more since the last week. So I knew that from my other Viva, but I think the coherency of my voice is coming across a lot stronger than it used to be, because I'm putting less strain on it and I'm just relaxing the voice. I'm just relaxing it and just letting it happen, instead of just trying to pull it out and overpower my voice, when really that shouldn't be done in an ensemble song, especially, or overall. Don't strain your voice. Don't try to powerfully pull it across. Just do your version of the song, and just do your own version of the lines. Don't just try to make it like natural. Don't try to copy someone like Ben Platt. Just do it the way you know is going to be best for your vocals. And the coherent, and how I've projected a lot more and just made it really clear and soft, is coming across better now than it used to be. So that's really good. And my other strength for me is like creating a story through instinct. So when Fourth Monkey came in, what I had to do is I had to like create a full story, and create just from like music, or you had to create like a choreography that you had to instruct everyone to follow, and you just had to like play around with everyone, try and mess people up and all that kind of thing, which is quite fun. But also it just showed that, you know, that improvising is just as good as just preparing a role. You know, if you just come up with something on the spot, it could be like the greatest thing that's ever been created in the world. You know, anything like that could happen. And sometimes what's really good is to know your instincts, and to know your instincts on how you create something. Overall, you know, if you think about, for example, I mean, these are quite a few examples I can think about. With, like, for example, if you look at Freddie Mercury from Queen, how he entertained his audience was through his instinct, through the energy that was coming from his head, that he just thought, I'm just going to do it like that. I'll see how it works. And because he was really good at improvising on how he was going to entertain, it helped him so much to get the audience on his side. And it's just, even if you're not, even even if you don't want to be a front man, if you just want to be an actor, or you want to be a dancer, sometimes the one thing you've got to do is, if you know what you're saying, if you know what you're moving to, but you just actually add a little bit more push to it, and you can see the enjoyment out of your own experience, the audience will just crave for you. They will root for you, and they will just feel like they're actually involved with you. And creating your own style and creating your own energy is what really is so important in this industry. And so many people, so many young actors, so many young performers get fazed by that, because they get so confused about how to get themselves the energy to let the audience feel like they can be fooled in, straight in, and feel like they're actually a part of it. So it's really important to get that completely blast in straight into your veins, so you know, just do it from instincts, because sometimes just create something from instinct and you could make the greatest thing that ever came out in the world. You know, that's what Freddie Mercury did, so do the same thing. My 3 weaknesses for me would be doing the ballet combination in I Hope I Get It. Because, my ballet is not the best, and it's not strong enough, because because ballet for me, I've not done ballet for a while, and also it's not like something I've done for years. And some of the terminology and some of the methods of how to do ballet, it can phase me out quite a bit. So one of the things I feel like I want to do to overcome this weakness is really think about like how I can apply ballet with like street dance, because street dance is one of my stronger dance fortes, and just look at what ballet does and look at street dance and mash them all together. And also a bit of jazz, because jazz dancing is also one of the things that I've started to grow a bit more passion into through my musical theatre experience. So I think what I need to do is really start to analyse, maybe watch a YouTube clip of I Hope I Get It, and really watch how everyone does that little ballet combination. Just look very closely at how they show their arms and how they use their legs, and what kind of facial expression they will be using. And, of course, I'll have to make it up, because, I've got a character, and my character is supposed to be this character where I'm staring at a woman who is looking really nervous, and I'm already, staring at her and losing focus on the choreography. So, but even without that, it's good to try and get yourself familiar with, a ballet combination. Just see how it works and see what it does, because anything could happen. So that's really important. And finally, also my other weakness for me would be look over the 32 bars of my solos. Maybe what I need to do is look over the whole songs in general, because I've already learnt the songs, but it's just picking out that 32 bars and just saying to myself, is this my stronger point of the song? Just pick out where you think you're stronger at. And maybe ask like my parents, maybe ask someone who's like an expert in singing, and say, where do you think I'm stronger at? And then see what happens, because anything could happen. You could probably just pick out an area, and then all of a sudden you'll go, well, even if I'm not the strongest at it, I'll see what I can do with it. And then you probably might strongly find something that's going to inspire you to strengthen your vocals, especially on high notes, especially if it's like at the end, because that's the one thing I really want to try and do, is improve when I hold a note for such a long time, especially at an end of a song, because musicals, you have to hold a note for a very long time and then just stop. And that's what most musical songs do. They say you got to go like and then stop and hold it as much as you can. So that's one of the things I need to work on, and just pick out my 32 bars that I think is my stronger point. And even if I'm struggling with that, because I know the songs word by word, all I can do is just go into the class and just say, I'm happy to do that bit. We can start from there and just work on that. So yeah, that's really helpful. My other weakness would be not to rush my lines in my contemporary monologue. So what I did was during my contemporary monologue on Friday, I rushed my lines quite a bit because, it was the first time I had actually completely got myself into that character of Andy. And, what I was doing was I just started thinking, oh, okay, well, he's quite a comedic character from what I could gather. And I just thought, no, I'll just try and balance myself out. And then I started finding myself rushing the lines because I wasn't as confident in keeping my character. So the thing that I feel that is going to really help me is to think really consciously about like the location of where the monologue's happening. Think about exactly where it is. So it's in the house, but where in the house? What was maybe read the full scene so I know exactly what's happening, and read the whole play. But mostly consciously read through the scene where the monologue is gonna happen. So then I know the actual setting, I know the location in the house, and just say, that's how I'm going to create the whole. That's how I'm going to try and get my own creative mindset into that zone and just see what I can do with it and see if it works. Because, experimenting is going to make a massive difference. Yeah. So what am I going to do for next week to improve? So my real one would be slow down when delivering my monologue. Slow down. That's the one thing that I remember when I worked on Under Influence last year. One of the things that I remember because it was more involved in screen acting and I was working with a director who had more screen acting experience, the one thing I learned when I was researching how screen acting is different to theatre acting, is making sure you slow down. And slowing down, making sure that you're not you're going to say all the lines and start rushing around. Don't. Just take it slowly. It's just as important for theatre as it is for screen. Making sure that you find the right balance and find the right pace that fits the role and fits the lines, because that's why grammar is so important, and that's why fulfilling your grammar in your acting is just so important. Because, it's like if you have a conversation now, and I'm speaking the way I am, and you could probably hear how I'm talking now, that I might be talking quick, I might be talking slow. But the one thing I'm doing is I'm trying to use my grammar and speak it out whilst talking on my Viva. So that's one of the things that I need to start to analyse and see if I can use that in my acting as well, and see how it plans out. So that's one thing I'm going to do. And just work on my location, work on the location of the scene, read the whole play, consciously look at the scene where the monologue's happening, and just kind of visualize where I am. Visualize how would that look like if I was in my own home? What would I be doing at that time? What would happen if I did have a brother? How would I be reacting in those circumstances? And just see it in my head, maybe dream it, maybe whilst I'm asleep, maybe just sleep and think about what I've just read, and then just wake up and think, that's how I'm going to play my role, because that can help. So see if that works or not, because then that could helpfully, and also it's quite a healthy way of getting an actor to visualize where they are in a scene, instead of just thinking to themselves, oh, I'm just not going to think about it, and just go in and do it. Because that's bad acting, that's awful acting. Always think about it consciously. Even when you're asleep, think about it. And you could be dreaming where you are. And if you think about it, you might just find yourself in this zone where you just think, I've got it. So also my other thing that I'm going to be applying over half term would be practice my solos. Keep practicing my solos. I mean, I'm already off book for them, but I want to make sure that I'm singing my solos as much as I can so I can look at the strengths and look at my weaknesses in them and see what's my stronger forte in those songs so that I can go, these are the 32 bars that I'm probably stronger at than here. And then also, and sometimes maybe what I could do is just go to people who know about singing, who are experts at singing, and just pick out and then say to them and ask them honestly, where do you think what was my stronger place during that song? And because I know the songs really well, I can just say, I know the songs, where do you think would be the better place for me to perform them when doing my assessment? So that's going to help a lot if I do that. So that will really help me in the general run. So that's me done for this Viva. This is Alexander Hall for Viva Voce week 6. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.